Good morning. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to give it just one more minute and then we will go ahead and get started. So thanks for being here. All right. Well, it is 11 o'clock on the dot, so we will go ahead and get started. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Walker Talbert, and I currently serve as one of our Associate Directors of Admissions Counseling within the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. So welcome to our campus virtually. I'm glad to have you here today. Excited for you to have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Baylor Business Fellows Program. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Seward, who serves as the director of the Baylor Business Fellows Program. Thanks, Dr. Seward.
Good morning and welcome to Baylor. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that. I appreciate your sharing part of your Saturday with us. I know we all have great things to do on Saturday, but I'm glad you're taking this time to find out. I need to lay a simple ground rule. If in the course of the presentation you decide you're not interested in this, you do not have to be polite and hang around for the end. You can just simply log off and go do whatever else fits your schedule. But I'm here to share some information about Baylor Business Fellows, what it is, and how it functions within Baylor. And I'm going to start out doing that by sharing a video that we prepared a year ago. So some of the information is a little bit dated, but it's useful.
Hi, my name is Charles North, and I'm a professor of economics at Baylor. I'm also an associate director of the Baylor Business Fellows Program, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. The Business Fellows Program is a Bachelor of Business Administration degree program in the business school that allows really bright students to get a flexible degree plan incorporating studies across many fields that don't normally combine well with a business degree. So what is Business Fellows? Well, first and foremost, it's a major in the business school. Your first major as a business fellow is actually Business Fellows, but it allows you to continue and get additional majors and minors beyond that. It is under the Bachelor of Business Administration degree plan, but unlike other BBA students, you can substitute many classes from many different disciplines for the standard degree requirements. We take about 60 to 70 students every year. Currently, we probably have about 100 students accepted, so we'll find out how large next year's class is.
Okay, I'm pausing for a moment because when I shared the screen, okay. I wasn't sure if I had optimized for sound, so I think we're still doing okay. Give me a moment and I will restart this, I hope.
At this point, we have a total of 265 Business Fellow students in the program and 509 alumni. So how does the Business Fellows degree work? Well, as I said, your first major is Business Fellows, and that's 31 hours of business courses. You have to take at least one course from each of the major subject areas in the business school, such as accounting, economics, finance, management or entrepreneurship, management information systems, and marketing. You also have to have a law class. And those by themselves add up to 21 to 24 hours for most students. So you can see that the Business Fellows major is really just a substitute for the typical basic business introductory coursework. Now, one important difference between the Business Fellows and the rest of the BBA is that you take anywhere from 53 to 64 hours of courses outside the business. But those courses can almost all be any electives that you choose. And that's where the ability to take secondary majors and minors outside the business school comes from. Finally, if you're doing the math and you understand that 124 hours are needed for a degree at Baylor, you'll see that you still have as much as 29 to 40 hours, or even more if you have advanced credit coming from high school, to take anywhere in the school where you can take additional majors in the business school. You can expand your non-business learning and do all kinds of things. So it is possible as a business fellow to have the least amount of business classes of anyone graduating from the business school, or more business classes than just about depending on what you come. There are some additional requirements.
Okay, so some people are having difficulty seeing the video, and that may be widespread, that I don't know. So I'm going to try one more time.
The Business Fellows major. The first one is the Level 4 requirement. All students must get to the 4th semester course in at least one of these subjects: math or sciences, engineering, computer science, or a foreign language. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily 4 courses in those areas. It means you get to the 4th semester. So suppose that you have placed out of 2 semesters of foreign language, such as Spanish. And when you test in, you come into the 3rd semester course. Well, then you need the 3rd semester and the 4th semester course to meet this requirement. The same is true for the other science and math courses as well. The other major requirement is the capstone experience. Every Baylor Business Fellow must complete a capstone experience. For students in the honors program, that's fairly straightforward. You write your honors thesis and it counts as your capstone experience. But we also have allowed coursework in the business school and elsewhere to qualify as a capstone experience. Some of those are listed here on this slide. The main thing that they have in common is that real people and real money are at stake in the decisions you make as a student in these classes. In the BEST program, the management consulting class, you actually have consulting clients that you work with. In the investment practicums, you are managing a portfolio of stocks owned by Baylor for the university's endowment. In the Angel Network, you're linking real business investors with real entrepreneurs. And in the Introduction to Philanthropy class, you are giving money to local charities through funding that comes through the class. So in every one of these cases, you have to take things that you've learned across your curriculum and incorporate them into making real decisions with real money that affect real people. So who are the Business Fellows and how do you fit in? You can see these statistics showing basic descriptions of who fellows are. The median SAT of our current freshman class that is finishing up their first year is a 1470, and the median ACT is a 33. So obviously we're looking for very bright students who are highly capable. In addition, business fellows are about 50-50 male-female, which is actually more female than the business school population as a whole. Almost half of our freshman class right now come from out of state, so it is not at all a Texas-dominated group. About a third of the students historically and currently are doing the honors program, about a quarter do pre-med. Historically, about 10 to 15% have done pre-law. Last year, we had about 5% do pre-law. So what do business fellows do with majors and minors? Well, this is a breakdown of last year's graduating class. As you can see, almost all of them had at least 2 majors, where their first one was the business fellows major. Most of them also had a minor, and a decent percentage of them also had 2 minors. Typically, most of the fellows are majoring in finance, and the second and third most common majors are economics and accounting. And many of them combine those in various ways. The top minors are mathematics, Spanish, and biochemistry. Biochemistry is a little hint at the fact that quite a few of our students are business majors, but also pre-med. Now, the most hours we have ever had a student finish at Baylor with in 4 years is 233 semester hours. Keep in mind, a standard degree is 124, so this person had almost twice the number of hours as a standard degree. Last year, the highest was 179. So students typically get a lot of these hours with AP credit and dual credit, and then they often will take higher loads to build up those kinds of hours. But the average Baylor Business Fellow doesn't take that many classes. They take a typical course load and are very engaged in extracurricular activities. What are some examples of majors and minor combinations that business fellows take? Here's a sample of students drawn from a graduating class from about 3 years ago. And as you can see, we have students graduating in the majors I just mentioned, accounting, economics, and finance, with various combinations of that, and the other subjects, mathematics and Spanish. But you can see some other things: film and digital media, English, communications, political science, religion. All of these are common subjects that business fellows study in addition to their business school studies, and they learn them at a level of a minor or a major. One of the questions that students commonly ask, and parents even more so, is what kind of jobs can I get with business fellows? Looking at the last two graduating classes, you can see that they get pretty good jobs. Most of them end up in finance or accounting or consulting or investment banking. Those are the tall bars there. But you also see about a fifth of them end up going to medical school, another percentage go to law school, and then a whole variety of other kinds of jobs beyond that. So they get very good jobs, and generally the pay rate for starting salaries for our graduates is higher than most business students. Now, if you think a little bit about what I've been saying, you're thinking I'm going to be studying a lot, I'm going to be working harder, I'm going to be taking harder classes than most students. Will I have time for anything else? And the answer is yes. Most students in the Business Fellows program take normal course loads, and then they fill their extra time with student involvement. These are organizations that Business Fellows have been involved with throughout time, and many of them have been presidents and treasurers and other officers in their various clubs. You can see we've just put Greek life there as one bullet point, but of course that's the wide array of Greek life on campus in both fraternities and sororities with leadership across the board. It turns out that business fellows are the kinds of students who typically gravitate toward leadership and whom their peers choose to be leaders in their organizations. So this is a great way for you to develop leadership experience and management of other people in your own life in ways outside the classroom. In addition to on-campus involvement, business fellows study abroad at a much higher rate than the regular student body. These 24 countries are all places that business fellows have gone since the program was begun 13 years ago. So you can see that it's a worldwide study abroad program, though it's a little bit heavily dominated toward Europe, as study abroad often is. But it's not just study abroad. We also have students going on mission trips around the world. And here you can see a shift toward the global south, where students go with their churches, they go with Baylor organizations, or they go with parachurch organizations to these countries. And 25 different countries have seen business fellows visit on mission trips since we started the program. So hopefully you're finding this to be an interesting program and you're wondering, hey, how can I apply? How can I be part of Business Fellows? At this point, we are taking applications from entering students, and we will.
And at this point, the video goes off into some other tracks that are not pertinent for you for where it was. So it's time for questions that are there. I want to give a couple of oversight perspectives to begin with. First, one question is, how is fellows different from the traditional BBA set of majors? And the principal difference is the flexibility in the classes outside of the business school. Instead of having that template that says you have to take 2 English and 2 history, 2 math, 2 science, that list becomes flexible for fellows, which allows fellows to concentrate those courses into majors and minors outside the business school. So that's the principal difference there. There's also sometimes the question of how is fellows different from university scholars. They're both set up on the same basic structure, but university scholars is anchored in classical liberal arts. Fellows is anchored in the business school. It doesn't mean the majority of your classes have to be in the business school, but it means that at least 25% of your degree requirements, so 31 hours, will be in the business school. From university scholars, they cap business courses at about 18 hours. And then there are some courses in the business school that are only open to business majors. Fellows can get into those and university scholars cannot. The newest program that we have at Baylor for honors and may be of great interest for your students, your children, is the Hand Camera Scholars Program. And the Hand Camera Scholars Program is an honors program. It is not quite as flexible with as fellows with courses outside of the business school, but it mimics fellows and a lot of things that happen inside. And so what we tend to think about, the way we're thinking about this at this point in time, is if your child is interested in business and only business, and they have no aspirations outside or areas they want to explore outside the business school, then a standard degree set outside the business school is fine. And the Business Fellows program is good. I mean, the Hand Camera Scholars program is good. If your child is interested in business and something significant, pre-law, pre-med, but also foreign language or mathematics or philosophy or religion as a major, then fellows is a great way of pairing those things together. So are there any questions?
Dr. Seward, it looks like there is one question about a specific major. So someone is wondering, would they be able to major in computer science and business fellows at the same time?
Okay, nice question. The short answer is, although you can, we've had several students start that path and they all choose not to complete it. So there are probably some functional reasons within that. The minor in computer science is pretty common, but it depends what your goals are in computer science. If you want to be a coder, I mean, you want a career in coding, then computer science is something you should choose as a major. If you want some programming skills, then you can do that either with a minor in computer science, which gets you C++, or you can, within the business school, have courses in Java and Python, and several courses in those, and develop programming skills in that area, as well as programming skills embedded in software like R and Stata and elements like that.
The next question, Dr. Seward, is a little bit about the application process. So when does a student apply? And then additionally, a student tagged on to that, if a student has already applied to business as an undergraduate student, how do they change that to business fellows?
Okay, the second one first, because I'll forget it otherwise. You just apply to fellows. After you've applied, it's fine. You have to be admitted to Baylor first. You apply to fellows. And then if admitted to fellows, we handle the change in major. So there's not anything that you have to do on that end. We'll communicate with you. How do you apply? There's an application form. There's a fellows website. And the website, you can go to any Baylor page and look at the search engine, search for Baylor Business Fellows. And on every page of fellows that you can read different things, there's a little sticker that says apply now. And so you just click it and there's a form that's there. We will look at SAT, ACT scores. We will look at class rank, high school transcript, letters of recommendation, resume, an essay that you write, which is basically what are you going to do with the flexibility of fellows. It is fair if you are interested in a lot of areas and you haven't decided what they're going to be yet, we allow that search process to occur. But you fill out the application.
A question in regards to the application is, when can a student begin applying to this?
So now we have already admitted some students for next fall who have already applied, because the people on the admissions committee are also faculty members at Baylor, and so there are other responsibilities we have. It will probably be another couple of weeks before we get back to the applicants that we haven't viewed yet, but we have been through, I think we're somewhere around 75 people have applied, and we've made decisions on those 75. There's probably another 40 applications that have come in the last few weeks that we haven't gotten to. So I would say, soon is better. Sooner is better than later. But we will continue to consider applications usually till May 1st. This year, because of COVID changing all our deadlines, I don't know if that'll be delayed. After May 1st, if you apply, what we would tell you is wait till the end of the first semester. And there are reasons in history for that we'll explain in the summer.
Next question is if you are a business fellow, do you have to pair it with a major, or can you pair it with one or multiple minors?
Okay, so business fellows is a major, and it is sufficient for graduating from Baylor. But depending on what your goals are, it could be very judicious to have other majors. If you want to be an accountant, you need an accounting major. If you want to go into consulting, there are other majors. Economics and finance are particularly good. In the history of fellows, we have about 600 people that have graduated now. We've had a total of 5 where fellows was their only major and everything else was done in minors. All 5 of those students were pre-med. All 5 were exceptionally strong students and got into the med school of their choice and kind of went on to that path. So for med school, I don't know that you need to have other majors, but for just about any other purpose, other majors are judicious.
The next question is, and I think you may have covered this, but just to reiterate, besides for the SAT scores, what else are major things that you're considering when applying for business fellows?
Yeah, so grades and class rank matter a lot. Class rank's more important than grades because grading standards vary from high school to high school. And they also vary according to like multipliers and how you handle honors in your high school. And that really changes. Class rank is a little bit more consistent. Of course, there are a lot of schools that don't rank, or you may be homeschooled, and that doesn't mean you can't get into fellows, but that gives us information. Same thing, can you get in without ACT or SAT exam scores? The answer is yes, but it's harder. What's happened is we have, with the students that have gone through fellows, we have developed an understanding from scores and class rank about how those students handle the accelerated and compacted curriculum of fellows. And so when we have that bit of information, that helps us know if you're going to prosper in fellows or if it's going to be a struggle. So I think that piece is important. Resumes, I want to see what you're involved in. I'm not actually looking for something specific in a resume. What I'm looking for is, does your academics completely absorb you and you don't have time for anything else? Or are you a more well-rounded person? And obviously being well-rounded is good. And also being not lazy is good for getting into fellows. There is one other comment I noticed that somebody says, if you're a junior this year, if you are a junior, you do not apply until after you're accepted to Baylor, and that'll happen next fall. And so for juniors applying to fellows, it'll probably be November before those applications would start to come in.
Dr. Seward, we actually have a student here that says that she has been accepted as a business fellow. So congrats to you, Chloe. She wants to know, how does she officially accept that she wants that to be her major?
Oh, send an email to Melissa, and in your acceptance stuff, there'll be contact for that. And that'll be really, really clear. And welcome to Fellows. It's a great program. You're going to love it.
Going back to the application process a little bit, Kimberly was wondering, who would you suggest is a good recommender for a recommendation letter?
Okay, because fellows, when I say fellows accelerate and compact curriculum, what I mean is in your freshman year, you will actually take some economics and accounting courses that are typically started the sophomore year. So you're taking a little bit earlier. Compacting means if there's a 1-semester version instead of a 2-semester version, like there's a 2-semester quantitative business analysis, basically statistics in the business school. There is a 1-semester course in the statistics department that covers most of that content. So fellows tend to do that. So what I want to know is, if you're accelerating and compacting curriculum, will you continue to do well in school? And so recommendations that tell me that, so math teachers or teachers of serious academic subjects, I know that coaches love you and they know you well, and they give you great character references, and character does matter. But in that piece, I just need somebody who will be able to evaluate how you would handle an accelerated curriculum, and still would you be able to flourish as a student. So academic recommendations from harder subjects, those are the ones that are most useful.
I think we got time for a couple more questions. Anya had a question. She said, if I do business fellows but want to add another major on the side, am I required to take a specific amount of hours in that major, or can I take fewer hours than the major requires?
The requirements for a major are identical whether you're in fellows or not. So if you're going to major in math, you will have to take 33 hours like every other math major will have to take. And you'll even take the same classes that every other math major will take. If the math department has ancillary requirements, like you need some background in physics, that will not apply. And so courses in other areas will not necessarily be required for fellows, but the math courses would be the same both in number and in content.
We've got a lot of other questions, and I don't know that we're going to get to all of them. But we'll allow one more. And then Dr. Seward, if you want to list or give them what's the best contact information and where to continue to learn more about business fellows, concluding this question. But the last question is, could you just speak a little bit to any internship opportunities with business fellows?
Okay, so internships, business fellows is not structured to provide internship opportunities, but the business school has an office that does career placement. And then having said that, often fellows who go to work for different firms, the firms come back and request fellows for interns. So we do have an informal network, Last year, internship and jobs coming into fellows were about 178. The different companies that contacted us looking for things. And so it happens, but we don't have a structured program. Best place to find information on the same website where you can apply. If you'll just look at the links, there's a link in there for the Fellows Handbook. And you can download it. I don't know that you want to read it all, but it would have the detail and structure. It's I think 57 pages. But it would have the detail and structure, history of fellows, and a little bit, it may answer a lot of your questions that are there. But off of that same website, there's also an email address that you can send an email to. It's the fellows office. It's actually manned by current fellows. And so they'll respond to your questions. And when the questions are beyond their expertise, then they forward them to one of the director or associate directors of fellows.
And we actually have one specific question, and it looks like it's a student that's been accepted. So they have a question saying that they got accepted to Hankamer Scholars, but they also applied to Business Fellows, but that was very recently. So if they do get admitted to Business Fellows, will their major change automatically, or do they just need to be in contact with you guys?
Right. So if you apply to both and are accepted to both, you'll have a choice. And so somebody will reach out to you via email and they'll ask you to make a choice that's out there. And so, yeah, that's a good question.
All right. And then last one, are there any options for students focusing on anything within the specific music business industry?
So music business is interesting. We used to have a marketing track that went for music business, and we found that most of the graduates didn't go into music. And so they changed it to a brand management track, which you could still carry into business. It is possible to either minor or major in music along with Business Fellows. And so you could pursue that interest on your own, but we don't have a specific program for music business.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Seward. We really appreciate your time today. Parents and students, thank you for logging on. For those of you who had questions that we did not get to answer, again, feel free to direct those to that fellow's email address. Feel free to reach out to them as you come up with questions or you'd like to get these other questions answered. But we thank you for your time, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day here at Baylor. Sic 'em Bears, and have a good one.